All right, welcome to the Week 5 update. First thing you'll notice is we have no undefeated teams left as our last two, White Bronco and Hemp Hogs, went down this week. So, yet another year with no undefeated teams. I don't know if we'll ever see that with how competitive this league is. And one other quick note before I get started with the whip around is just the whip around topic was going to be how injuries have hit every team, but I didn't want to jinx. There's a handful, one or two teams that haven't really been hit by injuries so far this year, and I didn't really want to jinx them by going over that. So, but needless to say, some of us are feeling it worse than others, and some big ones this week. But it's all part of the game. So, but what I do want to do for the whip around this week is I thought I'd just for over the next couple weeks, just go through each team, break down different position groups for each team. And I thought I'd start with the running backs this week. And we will start with our new points leader, Men in Tight Pants. And when we're talking about running backs, we're talking about why they're the points leader. Obviously, McCaffrey, we all know about him. Can't say enough. ETN was somebody coming into the year that, we kind of thought maybe Bigsby would take some work from him, but he's been actually a little better, I think, than he was last year, and a huge week this week. So there, McCaffrey and ETN, and then David Montgomery has been unbelievable as well. So kind of a three-headed monster there for Kathy that's got her heading in the right direction so far this year. Then we'll head over to the Hemp Hogs. Hemp Hogs has kind of gone a little. The guys they drafted to be, the workers, running backs, I think were Ramondre Stevenson and Dalvin Cook, and to say the least, they've been pretty disappointing. But drafted Mostert a little late and picked up Kyren Williams, and those two have really stepped it up. And I think Mostert now with Achane going down, he could even take it to another gear here. You never know what Miami's going to do with their backfield, but I think Pat's in pretty good shape with Achane and Mostert there. And, still Ramondre still out there, could turn things around. In third place, we have Tony Fargan Iceholes, sorry. And probably actually in third in points, but really it's not because of the running back position. Kenneth Walker has been the I don't know what you want to call it. He's been the rock in the lineup, but when he was on bye this past week, you saw, you got Elliott, Khalil Herbert, A.J. Dillon, Cam Akers. So, like I said, kind of piecing it together around Kenneth Walker. But it's been effective and got Tony into the third into points. And in fourth, we got the Rasta Dogs. And I think Breece Hall and Pacheco and actually James Conner Breece Hall and James Conner were the guys he drafted to kind of do it. Conner, unfortunately, goes down to injury this week, but it looks like Hall is actually coming back from injury, so that could be exciting. And then Pacheco's been really better than I thought he was going to be, at least so far. So kind of a good 1-2 punch there with Hall and Pacheco. And then Deontay Foreman lurking down there on the bench with Khalil Herbert going down. He might start contributing too. So in a pretty good spot there for Rasta Dogs. And then we'll head over to White Bronco in fifth place in points. And a good solid draft. Pollard, I think he was high on everybody's radar. Hasn't really had a breakout game, but been solid enough. A good starter. Hopefully down the road those breakout games will come. And then the rest of it's kind of been a little disappointing. Najee is just fallen off a cliff. And Miles Sanders hasn't really produced like I think everybody thought he was going to. Got a little bit of a boost with Zach Moss there, but that could be coming to an end with Jonathan Taylor back. So kind of a little bit in flux there, but you've got the anchor there in Pollard. Hopefully either Sanders or not so much Najee pick it up here the rest of the way. And that'll take us over to the Your Mama in sixth place. And a little bit of a slow start from some high picks, but it looks like maybe kind of rounded into form. Josh Jacobs, especially in the receiving game. Madison has had 3 solid weeks in a row, and I actually think the Jefferson injury might help him. They might turn to that running game a little more. You never know with Cam Akers, but I think, and then another running back on this roster is James Cook, who really disappointing this past week, but I think should have a solid year going forward. And then some decent options there on the bench as well in Warren and Charbonnet and Hunt. So definitely, I think a group that's on the uptick for sure. And that'll send us over to Who Day 23. Again, drafting Derrick Henry. He's probably had his most inconsistent season yet to date, but you're really not too. I mean, I think his days of like carrying a team to a championship are over, but there's definitely worse options to have as a weekly starter. And then, of course, the Achane was a revelation there for a couple weeks, but it sounds like he might be out, unfortunately, for a few weeks. But could be getting Aaron Jones back just in time there. I think he's still got a little bit left in the tank. And that Jaleel McLaughlin has actually looked really good. That might be a nice waiver wire steal there, especially with Javonte Williams kind of slowly coming back from that knee injury from last year. So another pretty decent group there. Again, I think you could definitely find yourself in worse spots. And then I'll take us over to Ingrown Hairs. And it's just been a story of the rookies not really getting it together. I've really expected a lot more out of Bijan by now. He's had some decent weeks, but really hasn't had that explosive week. And Gibbs has been a major disappointment. Swung the trade, picked up Brian Robinson and DeAndre Swift, and confident that's going to pay dividends down the road. It didn't really kind of come. Swift did okay this week. Robinson had a horrible week, but and then the Jerome Ford picking up, hopefully can pick up where Chubb's role in the Cleveland offense, but they can. That's kind of up in the air. But got a lot of options. Just nobody's really stepped it up and been that solid force for me so far yet. But we'll see what happens. And then one of the more interesting situations, we'll go over to TD Twisters here in ninth place. Injuries have hit hard. Saquon Barkley, obviously, but sounds like he might be back. And then I don't think the Jonathan Taylor situation could have worked out any better for the TD Twisters with him. You didn't know where he was going to go, if he was even going to play. And now he signs this new contract and he's back picking up his starting role and healthy. So here we are in week 5. John a week ago is just in disarray at running back, and now he might be starting Barkley and Jonathan Taylor the rest of the way. Which who wouldn't if you raise your hand if you wouldn't take that, And then some other been scrambling, and I think Roschon Johnson. Again, he's another one. As long as he's over his concussion, he might benefit. Kind of like I was talking with Deontay Foreman with it. Sounds like Khalil Herbert might be out for a few weeks. And then that'll bring us to the Blue Blobs. Again, another one hit by injury. Eckler, obviously, you know, you draft him and you figure you can forget about it, and then here you haven't had him for what is, I guess, 4 weeks now. But it sounds like he's going to be back sooner than later. And then you got Kamara, the later round kind of flyer, and it looks like, at least PPR wise, he's picked up where he's left off. Where he has been his whole career, really. So again, it's been a kind of a shaky beginning to the year. And then Mixon, I'm going to say it again. He hasn't got the TD, yet, or the big game yet. But I really think Mixon can be a solid running back for the fantasy for the rest of the way. So take those three, and like I said, it's been a shaky start. But if they can all get healthy and on the same page, it might. You could have these two teams, John and Kyle here at the bottom, could turn things around pretty quickly. But that's just a quick run through everybody's running back situation, and I guess next week maybe we'll take a look at wide receivers. So then we'll head over to our game of the week. Okay, when I was looking at the game of the week candidates, I just, we got the 2 4-1 teams and 2 1-4 teams, and everybody else, 2-3 or 3-2. So everybody right in it were, screaming towards the halfway point of the year here in week 6. But I thought I'd highlight this matchup. We got TD Twisters at 1-4, off to a rough start, and really needing a win versus Rasa Dogs, who been about as solid as team as any, right up there in the points race, and at 3-2, well in the thick of it in the division race as well. So you got the matchup. You got TD Twister desperately needing to win, and it's an interesting matchup to me because, like, as I was talking about in the whip around, it'll be interesting to see how Barkley and Taylor, if they can inject some life into TD Twisters and get them headed back in the right direction. And then you got Rasa Dogs with Connor down, who's going to, you assume Pacheco will slot in at the running back spot. But then that kind of, you have that domino effect on the rest of the lineup to see where that goes. Again, it could be Foreman that steps up. Zay Jones is out there having a few good weeks. But who's going to step up there? And also a team that hasn't been really active on the waiver wire yet too. So maybe suddenly, with all the injuries, there's some options out there on the waiver wire. It should be interesting to see that this week too. But and then again, the engines that makes things goes for Rasa Dogs. You got Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Deebo Samuel. I don't think that's going to change. But TD Twisters, I think, can kind of not go step for step, but when you're looking at Amon-Ra, should be back from injury, DK Metcalf back from bye, a lot of firepower there too. So should be an interesting matchup. And TD Twisters doesn't pull this one out, then they've got a pretty uphill battle to get into the playoff chase. And if Rasa Dogs can keep the winning streak going, then they're right in the thick of things. So should be a good matchup. All right, thanks for listening, everybody. Good luck.